Hello and welcome to the N4 podcast. My name is Craig Haber and I'm your host. Today we have on the podcast Debbie Hyde, who is a part of M4 in the UK. Debbie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Debbie, you're from the UK. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what kind of family you come from.
Yeah, I am from the UK, right down south in the southwest, in a place called Barnstable. It's a seaside area, countryside, beautiful place. Lots of tourists come there during the summertime. I didn't grow up there. I grew up in Somerset, which is the next county over.
Okay, still in the southern part of the UK.
Down south, beautiful place. And I was really blessed by growing up in a Christian household. My parents were Christians.
Okay.
And I tell you what, I've just started reflecting because my dad passed away a few years ago. And I started reflecting on how much he and my mum influenced me as Christians and growing up in that household. And it made me think of two things that influenced my life and impacted me. And one of those things was they had so much love for people. And our house was just open all the time.
Coming and going all the time, yeah?
We always had people in the house. But it was the people that other people maybe wouldn't love so much. It was people that needed someone to care for them and to show love to them. And my parents did that in abundance. And so there were always people in our house. And that really impacted me, just to look at people with Jesus's eyes and love people as Jesus loves people. And it was a great witness to me growing up. And the second thing was that I always remember my dad every night before he went to bed would get down on his knees and pray. Every night, without fail. He made Jesus the very center of his life. Wow. And very quietly, he'd just disappear and we'd find him on his knees and praying. And I've just been thinking, what an impact we have as parents, Christian parents, on our children, not just with what we say, not what we declare, but what we demonstrate, how we live our lives, how we love people as Jesus loves people, and how we keep Jesus at the very center.
Wow, what a heritage you come from.
Real legacy.
So your parents' faith was something you observed. Tell me about how did that impact you, but then how did you find Jesus in your life?
Well, I can't pinpoint exactly when I gave my life to Jesus. I know that I prayed. It was just natural. It's just like Jesus is in our house. He's part of our family. And so I got baptized. My dad baptized me when I was 11 in our local church. So, and my journey started there, really.
Wow. So it's not like you remember the moment, but because it was just like you were like a fish in that water. It was just always around you and it was a part of life.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I feel really blessed with that.
Okay, and so were you a part of a church growing up regular? Were you kind of every Sunday you were in church?
Yeah. My mum still lives in the house that I was born in.
Okay.
And she goes to the church that I was brought up in. So I love going back. I still call it going back home.
Yeah.
And returning back to that church I was baptized in 44 years ago.
Wow. Doesn't look like 44. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what happened after you come to faith, meeting your husband, James, and the family now that you call your own.
Yes, I moved to Barnstable and I met James there. And we dated for 6 months and then 6 months later got married.
Wow.
So within a year of meeting each other, we were married. And
how did you know after 6 months that James is the right one?
I think when you know, you know.
Okay.
And it's funny because I'd always said to the Lord, I will never marry anyone unless I know them for at least 3 years.
Okay.
And it's almost like the Lord looked down and said, you just wait and see. And it just happened. We met and we knew within 6 months, we need to get married. So we did, yes.
And how long have you been married now?
28 years now.
28
Now, I have to say, Craig,
Yeah.
it hasn't all been a bed of roses. There's been ups and downs. And I think it's so important, again, to keep Jesus in the center of your marriage. Ecclesiastes, that 3-chord strand. You know, 1 chord is your spouse and 1 chord is you. And the 3rd chord has to be Jesus to strengthen your marriage. I think that's so important. And those times when it's kind of got a bit rocky, I can tell you it's been when we haven't got Jesus at the very center. When we lose that focus, that's when it starts to unravel. So, yes.
What do you do in those moments? How do you recognize something is wrong? What have you done in your marriage to put the three strands back together?
I think for us, we have to take a step back. You know, it's when you're up close to the situation and whatever's going on, it's very hard to see what's happening. We always take a step back. Pray together is so important. Ask other people that you respect and experienced Christians to pray over you and your marriage. Ask the Lord to put a hedge of protection around you. And you just have to look at your life balance as well. It's so easy. We all know how easy it is to get busy doing good things. But are they the right things? We have to make sure we have time for one another. And so when it maybe starts to unravel, maybe things need to be looked at priorities. First of all, is God at the very center of all that we're doing? Are we saying yes to too many things and shutting out time together, whatever it might be? So there are different steps that I would say that we would take to try and make sure that those three chords are together. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
No.
And tell us a little bit about your family, the kids that the Lord has given to you and James.
Yes, I got two boys. Chris, who's 26, he just got married this year in May to beautiful Lizzie, and Ben, who's 24. And Ben still lives at home with us. He works as a software engineer remotely, and Chris works as a 3D artist on creating games online. So they both have fantastic jobs that they excel in and love. So that's a real
And plus,
blessing.
if you can't open up and remember your password, you have someone to call, right?
So
They're both
great.
a little bit more
Anytime, any problems with the computers, we know who to ring.
You have support online quite easily.
Absolutely. Yes.
So tell us about your life in Devon there. You're part of a church, and I understand it's a large church. Tell us about your ministry there, the church there, and what's happening at the local level.
We do belong. Since we've been married for 28 years, before that, 29 years, we've been part of Grosvenor Church in Barnstaple. It is one of the largest in
And what do you mean by large?
Well, I would say we have had up to 400 people coming regularly.
Okay.
I think since COVID, maybe it's dropped off a bit. But yes, for that area.
Kind of size,
yes, it's fairly large. And I think there's a reason for that. And I would say, if you asked me, how did we get a large church? I think one thing is that we look to the unchurched, the people that are not yet Christians. We make sure that we are seeking out the people that Jesus has got their hand on, that to draw them in. James and I have run a new believers course before, or maybe not a new believers. It's a course for the unchurched, people that don't know anything and they've started to ask questions. So we've run the courses like this. Who is Jesus? What's the Bible all about? And we've run that in our home. And we have seen quite a few people come to know the Lord. At the end of course, some people say, no, that's not for me.
Right.
But quite a few people, including our next door neighbour, come to know the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
And we've baptised 13 people through that, even one in our own bathtub. They were so excited to give their life to Jesus. And they knew that once they gave their life to Jesus, they needed to be baptized. And they were like, I want to be baptized right now. So up in our bathtub, we did it.
Wow.
So that was fantastic. So yes, looking out for the unchurched. The other thing is to welcome new people into the church as well. When you start getting lots of people coming to church, it's easy for people to get lost. So we would have a meal for them after the service.
Okay.
And we would talk to them about the values and the vision of the church. And and just build relationships with them. And then the newcomers would start coming along to a discipleship group. So that's another thing that we would do, a discipleship group.
Yeah.
And we used to have a discipleship group back in the day when we first started. And we only had 4 people coming along. And we'd meet them once a week on a Tuesday. And it was very nice. We read the Bible together, prayed together, and then waved goodbye, and that was it. Nobody was growing. And we asked the Lord, what is it? What do we need to do differently? And then the Lord brought into our church life a Brazilian pastor. And he brought with him an idea about discipleship, about how we need to disciple people to disciple people. So our discipleship is all about intentional relationship. So we realized that our discipleship group should not just be for 2 hours once a week on a Tuesday night, but it needed to be throughout the whole week. We need to become family and be in each other's lives. And that's what discipleship is all about.
Right.
So we began to disciple these 4. And these 4 then started to disciple others. And our family group began to grow. Our discipleship group began to grow.
Wonderful.
So seeking out non-Christians, so important. Welcoming newcomers into the church, looking after them, so important. Discipling people is so important as well. So yes, important things with building a church. And relationship is at the very heart of it.
Yeah, that's quite an incredible local ministry, but I also understand you have quite a heart and a passion for the rest of the world, and have done a lot of mission trips. Tell me a little bit about the places you've been and what's it like ministering abroad?
Yeah, so it goes way back to 2004. And I think looking back through life, God has put me on stepping stones, bringing me along a journey. And it all began in 2004. There was a couple of people in our church, that were going to Nepal and ministering there. And they came back and shared their story. And it ignited something in me. My heart was stirred. I listened to their stories and I got excited. Yeah. And I thought, I would love to do that.
You want that yourself?
I so want that. I want to go and have that adventure, that experience, to share Jesus with other people, to live life on the edge, to live by faith, not knowing what was coming around the corner. I wanted some of that in my life. And so the next year, this couple took a group out from the church to Nepal. And so I went. Took my dad with me as well. Dad came along.
That's wonderful.
So great. And it was fantastic to experience a completely different culture, to meet new people, to share Jesus with different people. And the people were so hungry for it and so wanting to hear more. So that was my first step out in faith. I left my boys, they were 5 and 3 at the time, and went out with Dad to do this short-term mission trip. So I was working as a teaching assistant at that time. And that experience I took back to the school with me. And I shared with the children in assemblies, and I shared with the teachers everything that we did. And it's like, Craig, have you heard of the ripple effect? When you drop a small pebble into still water, and then you have little ripples that get bigger and bigger. Well, that's what I felt it was like. So the couple that first sparked that passion in me, started that little ripple. They dropped a stone. And I went to Nepal and I had this amazing experience and God changed me. I came back and I shared it with others, with all these children, with all these teachers. And they got caught up in it. And the children, even at age 5 and 6, were saying to me, what can we do to help the children in Nepal? And they gave me their pocket money and they wanted to bake cakes to raise money for the schools and the children. And the head teacher and the deputy head teacher said to me, I want to come out to Nepal with you. So the following year, they came out with me and Dad back to Nepal. Wow. Even though they weren't Christian, they came with a Christian team. Wow. And they came out to Nepal.
You took non-Christians on a mission trip?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And they were changed themselves. They didn't give their hearts to Jesus, but they were changed. God had his hand on their lives. And they came back and they sponsored 2 teachers in Nepal for years. So they were educating 60 children a year. So yes, that ripple effect sort of changes people, doesn't it? So that was my first trip to Nepal.
But quite life-changing.
And then since then, we went to Nepal 3 times. And I've also been with a couple from church to Tanzania, to Uganda, and to Thailand. We do different things, like maybe be teaching teachers in the school about how to teach their children. It could be painting school rooms. And the time that I went out to Uganda, we were ministering to groups of young women and young men. And the young women, I was with a small team, helping them to build up their self-worth and who they are in Christ. And that was a wonderful, wonderful time, fantastic time.
Wonderful.
So amazing experiences. God has really blessed me with these opportunities and experiences to sort of travel the world and see the world through God's eyes.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to do, so much more to do.
Yeah, Uganda, I had a chance to visit a couple of years ago, and it was just Africa. It's mind-blowing, and just to see it and what God is doing there, and it's just, when you get out of your local context, so much can happen. I understand that in 2010 you had a family mission trip. So it's not just you haven't gone by yourself, but your family went to. But that had a significant impact on your life and your calling and effect with you and James beginning to serve more together. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, in 2010, we made a big decision to take our 2 boys out of school for 6 months. They were 12 and 10.
6 months, that's a long trip.
And we did a YWAM course, a Youth with a Mission. And we did the Crossroads course, which is for people that have more experience of life, so older people, that are maybe looking to see if God is putting them in a different direction. So we went out to Hawaii for 3 months, and Hawaii, because it's one of the biggest YWAM bases, and it's actually where YWAM started. And they had a children's school, which teach the same as what the adults were being taught, but in children's speak, so suitable for them. So we went out as a family to be taught about how to be missionaries, really, to get to know the Lord more, to spend time in his presence, to build us up, to be ready to send us out. And then after 3 months, we went out to India for a couple months as a family. And that was a huge experience, not all good. There weren't all amazing times. It was incredibly hard. But to go as a family, to do something like that was life-changing. And it cost us a huge amount of money to do it, a huge amount of sacrifice. We didn't know whether we'd have any jobs when we returned home. We didn't know if the children would be able to get back into school. But we thought God wanted us to do that. We had words over our life that this is something that we should and could do. So we pushed and tried everything that we could to get there. And we did it, and the Lord really blessed us as a family. And we had, when we were out there, a word over our life that in the future, James and I would be working together in ministry.
Wow.
We were so excited. That was fantastic. So we had experience of that when we were ministering in India. We were working alongside one another. And so we thought, this is it. We get back home and we're ready. We're raring to go.
You have this word, you have this experience. And
we are going to serve the Lord together in ministry.
Yeah.
And we can go anywhere. We were prepared to give up our home. We were prepared to move anywhere in the world the Lord wanted us to go.
Yeah.
We were ready to up sticks and go. Yeah. And do you know what happened?
What?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. We had amazing opportunities come into our path. And we thought, this is it. We pressed the doors, pushed the doors, and they shut. Every door shut firmly. And the Lord was like, nope, this is not for you. Nope, this is not for you. I was so frustrated. Lord, we've been through all this. We are ready and raring to go. You sent us, and you tell us to go and make disciples. Well, here we are, we're ready. And nothing. So frustrating.
Yeah, quite discouraging.
Oh, I was so frustrated. And it took a long time. We had people praying for us.
How long is that?
A long time.
Years.
Years. Weeks went into months, went into years, and
like
along
desert
that way.
Time almost.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. But I finally understood, Lord, okay, you have sent us. You sent us here, where we were. That's where you sent us, in the UK, for that time, for a purpose, for a reason. And so we were there. So we stayed where we were, doing what we were doing. I was still a teaching assistant. James began to work full-time in Christian ministry. He worked for the church. He worked for a Christian church planting organization. And so we thought, the Lord wants us to work here, looking at the people around us, reaching out to people, ministering in the church. So I had to find patience to just wait and see what the Lord had in store for us. Wow. So yes, it took a while.
It took a while. And then we've transitioned a little bit to M4. James comes in contact through counties, an organization in the UK, with M4, and then you get involved a little bit later on. Tell me a little bit about how that happened. What was it like when you first started to hear about M4 and what was going on?
Yeah, so James heard about M4 in 2015 when he was working for the church planting organization. But nothing really happened at that time, until he started working for Counties UK, which is another Christian organization. Now, they were really interested in M4. They really wanted to have church planting as one of their biggest things that they would be doing in counties. So James went on a trip to meet the M4 leaders and to see what was going on, and came back full of it. And so I was still working as a teaching assistant at the time. And he would come back full of all these names and what they were doing, and this program's really good. I think we met
in the Czech Republic the first time I was on that trip. So we connected there.
That's right. But it didn't really mean anything to me, all these different names. I didn't know people.
It's like over there somewhere.
Yes. So that was great. But at home, so in our period of waiting for the Lord, or just working in the UK as we were doing, we felt that we also had to make ourselves ready for whatever the Lord had for us in the future. So after doing 15 years as a teaching assistant, at the age of 50, took my degree, and then qualified as a primary school teacher.
Wow.
I felt I needed to have a qualification behind me. If the Lord opened doors abroad or further afield, whatever it might be, I had a qualification. And James, he did a master's in theology, and so had that qualification as well. So
you both have your papers now, and
that's right.
Your credentials.
So when I was going through my training, I had to leave my job as a teaching assistant when I trained as a teacher. And then once I trained as a teacher, I was looking for teaching jobs, but nothing felt right. I was looking at the jobs, and my heart was heavy. It wasn't in, I just thought, no, I don't feel that this is right. Don't feel this is where the Lord is leading me to be a teacher in the UK. And then a job came up, and it was just 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And it was in a family centre in the middle of town. And they have a cafe, a play area, and a shop that supports local families. It's not a Christian organisation, but it has great kingdom values. It wants to love and care and look after young families. And I thought, that ticks all the boxes that I love to do. I love working with young children. I love working in a cafe. I opened a cafe in the school that I worked in. And I used to work in retail back in the day. So all the things that I love to do and meeting people. So that's the job I do at present. I work Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays. So all of a sudden in my life, I have these long weekends free. So this is where James and I start thinking, I can go along with James when he starts doing learning communities and working with M4.
I see.
So that was my introduction to M4. James was going along to a learning community and he said, would you like to come along and be a cohort facilitator?
Wonderful. But you'd never facilitated before. What was it like? How do you start to do something you don't have any experience with? Except for you are a teacher. So being in front of people and moving through an educational process of some sort and learning would be, but tell me a little bit, how did you make that transition at the beginning?
I'd never been to a learning community. Had no idea what a learning community was. And James just said, oh, you'll be fine. You just need to look after this group of people when the speaker is speaking and take them through some exercises. I was like, okay. He said, here. And he gave me the manual, facilitation manual. And that's all I had. So I went to the learning community to be a cohort facilitator with just having read the manual.
Okay, so no experience, no training really.
Nothing. And now I don't recommend it. That's not how I'd like to have a facilitator come along. But the manual was so good at explaining exactly what a learning community is. It explains the role of the facilitator. It explains all the module goals, the key questions. It lays it all out. And the learning community, the agenda, lays it all out in this is what happens here, and then you go into this, and these are the templates for this. And so I read it cover to cover, and I looked at it, I thought, yeah, I could give this a good go. And I did. And I believe I did give it a good go.
Yeah,
and
I bet you did.
I made some mistakes, but hey,
who doesn't?
Isn't M4 value consistent improvement?
Exactly.
You know, always moving forward, learning from our mistakes, you move forward, and seeking out and listening to feedback from other people so that we improve the way we serve God and improve the way we serve his people. So I made mistakes like all the templates I had, I got all muddled up, which template to use. And, there's so many, isn't there?
Yes.
So I learned you have to lay them all out.
Yeah,
it's so easy.
order.
It's so easy when you do it once and then you think, next time.
Next time I do differently.
And and another thing I learned as well, because didn't know quite what to do. And so I lacked in confidence. And so when the speaker was maybe going on a little too long, I didn't have the confidence to step in or bring the discussion back onto topic. So it was just learning from those things how best to improve upon the next time. So that was my introduction to it, and I loved it. And one thing I loved about the learning community is the way that they use collaborative learning. Now, my training as a teacher, I've come across that collaborative learning, and it's a really high quality teaching environment to have. And to know that people come to the learning community already having gained so much knowledge from looking at the videos online, from answering the questions, from having discussions together. Before they even come to the learning community, they've already done their homework and they are ready and raring to go with the questions that need answering in the learning community. So, and then during the learning community, just having plenty of time for discussion, to talking,
that
reflecting from the Lord, and and answering those questions and looking at the module goals, answering those key questions. Yeah.
So you've had a chance to lead many learning communities and teams through the learning community and the whole team process. What are some insights and inspiring insights that you've come across in your time?
I think we have been listening to some church plants and the stories that they tell, the things that they share with us. And I guess one thing is that church planters need to be really good at forgiving.
What an interesting insight. Tell me more.
Yes. Well, when you have a team of people around you, there is always usually a time when you all maybe brush each other up the wrong way. Maybe someone goes and does one thing and the rest of the team feel that it needs to be in another direction. So there can be pain ahead. And I think we need to all understand that we need to have a heart for forgiveness and forgive each other, because we all make mistakes. And we need to keep the lines of communication open and not to hold on to grudges.
Yeah.
So it's so important in team building, in team making, to have that open communication. I think that's one insight I've had. Another, it's just bringing to mind something else as well. Someone said to me about discipleship making is not cheap sometimes. Like when you're opening up your home in hospitality and you're feeding people, or you're doing an outreach and you want to put on a spread, a barbecue, it all takes money, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
so some church plants, they have to really live by faith.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot financially. So it's just praying into that and just having that understanding that, we need to live by faith and know that if you're walking in the way of the Lord, He will provide. Yes.
Wow. So you've been a chance to now, you're serving together with James. You've kind of, this word that you received many years ago has come back. Tell me about, how do you see the future of the two of you serving together?
Do you know, I have no idea what the future holds, but I do know who holds the future.
There we go.
And I think that we just will continue to trust in Him. And as I have shared my story with you about how the Lord has taught me in the time of waiting to have patience. And during that time, when you are in that time of waiting and patience, your strength builds, your faith builds. And the Lord's timing is perfect. And I think in Isaiah, Isaiah 60, verse 22 says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So it's just having that understanding that, yes, the Lord will make things happen. We just need to trust in Him. And wherever we are, whatever we're doing, the Lord can work in us and through us to the people around us. Wow. So yes, that's what we're doing together.
That's encouraging. So along on this journey of working together, what kind of advice would you give for couples that, feel that they would like to serve together? Maybe they have little kids and they feel separated, like it's hard to do it with, and the challenges that come with that. What kind of advice would you give to couples?
First of all, always pray together. Pray individually, but pray together. And seek out people to pray over you, and to counsel you as well. It's always good to share your hearts as a couple with people that you trust and believe have good words for you. And see what they say. See if they hear from the Lord. So seek what the God has for your life. So, and then maybe there might be opportunities that open up. Seek out those opportunities to minister together. Try it and see. It could be something simple. James and I started by preaching together, sharing a preach in the church together, or even just doing communion together. Small steps, building up. But like ministering together is not always easy. You know, James and I are totally different people. He is so cautious and really good at details and very knowledgeable about a lot of different things and likes to think things through.
Yes.
I am the complete opposite. I go jumping off into the deep end and get super excited about things and go, hey, this is it, let's go. And so we balance each other out very easy, very well. I am the push that sometimes James needs. So sometimes you have to take that step of faith without having all the answers to the questions. And sometimes I need James to say, hey, hold on there.
Yeah, slow down a little
bit. Let's just pray this through a little more.
Yeah.
So we do balance each other out well in our ministry. So
that's wonderful. How God puts two people together, you know, that are different, and how you can really balance one another out. As we finish, I would like to invite you to look into the camera, you know, and to talk to the people that are watching this today, church planters, supporters, people who are, you know, learning about church planting. What encouragement would you like to give to them today? So you can do that now.
God sent Christ. As God sent Christ, we also are sent to go out into the world to share his love, so that more people will come into a relationship with him.
Debbie, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for your heart and encouraging us along in this process. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the podcast. It's been Debbie Hyde has been our guest for today. If you would like to learn more about M4 Europe, about what God is doing around Europe, and especially in the UK and Ireland, you can go to our website at m4europe.org. If you would like to support us financially and learn and sign up for our newsletter, you can find that all on our website. And until next time, God bless.